In the world of modern warfare, every year brings a new generation of weapons, faster, smarter, and deadlier than those before. And yet, sometimes, the most shocking innovations aren't about making weapons more precise, but about making them more devastating over a wide area. One of the most talked about examples of this is the TOS-3 Dragon, Russia's newest heavy thermobaric rocket system. It's the successor to the infamous TOS-1A Solntsepiok, a weapon that has already carved its name into the history of battlefield destruction. The TOS-1A was known for wiping out entire areas in a matter of seconds, leveling buildings, and overwhelming enemy positions with heat and shock waves. But now, the TOS-3 takes that destructive potential even further. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the history, the engineering, the battlefield tactics, and the chilling real-world implications of this weapon, especially in the context of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. So, buckle in, because what you're about to hear is not just a story about technology, it's a story about the escalating power of modern warfare. To understand the TOS-3, we need to step back and look at where it came from. In the 1980s, during the late Soviet era, the Soviet military wanted a weapon that could break through heavily fortified enemy positions, especially those hidden in mountains, caves, or bunkers. The result was the TOS-1 Buratino, a multiple rocket launcher mounted on a tank chassis, firing thermobaric warheads. The concept was brutal in its simplicity. Instead of relying on high explosive shells, the TOS-1 would deliver a fuel-air explosive, a two-stage weapon that first disperses a cloud of flammable fuel and then ignites it. The effect is catastrophic. When that fuel cloud ignites, it creates an intense high-temperature fireball, reaching over 1,000 degrees Celsius, followed by a crushing shock wave. But the most terrifying part, the explosion consumes oxygen in the blast area, creating a partial vacuum. Anyone caught inside, even in bunkers, can suffer fatal internal injuries from the sudden pressure change. The TOS-1 was effective, but it had one major weakness: range. With a reach of only 2 to 3 kilometers, the launcher had to operate dangerously close to enemy lines. That vulnerability was reduced, but not eliminated, when the upgraded TOS-1A Solntsepiok entered service in the early 2000s, extending range to about 6 kilometers. Still, in the age of precision artillery and long-range drones, 6 kilometers wasn't enough. Enemy forces could detect and destroy the system before it had a chance to reload. That's where the TOS-3 Dragon comes in. Designed with a range of up to 15 kilometers, it can now strike from a safer distance, while delivering even more destructive firepower. The TOS-3 isn't just a bigger TOS-1A, it's a complete modernization. The system is believed to be mounted on the chassis of a T-90 main battle tank, giving it superior armor, mobility, and battlefield survivability compared to older models. This means it can endure small arms fire, artillery shrapnel, and even some direct anti-tank weapon hits, depending on where it struck. The rocket launcher module carries 24 massive 220mm rockets, each capable of carrying a TBS-3M thermobaric warhead. These rockets are nearly 4 meters long, weighing over 170 kilograms each. When fired, the rockets can be launched individually or in a rapid salvo, saturating an area the size of several football fields. The blast effect is terrifying. Fireball radius, enough to incinerate unprotected personnel instantly. Shockwave, powerful enough to collapse concrete structures and fortifications. Vacuum effect drains oxygen from enclosed spaces, killing without direct flame contact. The TOS-3 also reportedly integrates modern fire control systems, potentially linked to drone reconnaissance or satellite data. This allows operators to pre-program coordinates, fire without line of sight, and hit targets more accurately while staying hidden behind terrain. Thermobaric weapons like the TOS-3 are not precision tools. They're designed for maximum effect over a wide area, making them ideal for clearing entrenched infantry positions, destroying fortified bunkers, breaking through urban defenses before ground troops move in, creating psychological shock to demoralize enemy forces. On the battlefield, the TOS-3 usually operates behind the main artillery lines. Spotters, often drones, locate a target, send coordinates, and within minutes, the launcher can fire and withdraw to avoid counter-battery fire. In Ukraine, reports suggest these systems have been used against defensive strongholds near frontline cities, where Ukrainian forces have entrenched themselves in basements, industrial complexes, and reinforced positions. For the soldiers on the receiving end, survival is slim if they're within the blast zone. Even those outside the fireball can be killed by the pressure wave or trapped under debris. And for civilians, in urban areas, the consequences are even more devastating. Entire apartment blocks can be rendered uninhabitable after just one barrage. The physical damage of the TOS-3 is only half the story. The other half is psychological warfare. Survivors of thermobaric strikes often describe the sensation as unlike any conventional artillery attack. There's a roaring blast, a heat wave that feels like it's burning through the skin, and then, in some cases, total silence as the vacuum effect momentarily robs the air. In military terms, this is called shock effect, the ability to make enemy soldiers abandon their positions, refuse to advance, or even surrender without direct combat. This psychological edge is why weapons like the TOS-3 are so valuable in both offensive and defensive strategies. Even if it doesn't kill, it can break morale, and in war, that can be just as decisive as destroying equipment. Thermobaric weapons are not banned under international law, but they are heavily criticized by humanitarian organizations. The indiscriminate nature of their destruction means that in populated areas, civilian casualties are almost unavoidable. The fireball doesn't distinguish between soldiers and non-combatants. For Ukraine, facing the TOS-3 means adapting tactics, digging deeper shelters, dispersing troops, and relying more on early warning systems. For the international community, it raises the question of how far escalation will go and whether there should be limits on certain categories of weapons. The TOS-3 Dragon is not a subtle weapon, it's not precise. It doesn't target a single vehicle or bunker. It erases entire sections of the battlefield. For Russia, it's a tool to break through resistance. For Ukraine, it's a deadly challenge that forces constant adaptation. And for the rest of the world, it's a reminder that as technology advances, the line between military necessity and humanitarian catastrophe grows ever thinner.